Hey guys, back again with another video. I know it's been a while, like 2 weeks since my last video, and this is going to be a very late top 10 games of 2013. Pretty much everyone's already done their list, and it's 2014 now, but I don't know, there was a couple games I wanted to get done before I started making my list, and I'm glad I waited until this month to actually do this list, because I don't want to spoil too much, but I do want to talk about my list at the end and some games I missed out on this year and kind of give a general opinion on 2013 as a whole. So for now, I'm just going to get right into the list with number 10, which is Grand Theft Auto 5. One of the big heavy hitters this year, the highest selling game this year. What's there to say about Grand Theft Auto 5? I mean, I really liked it. As someone that's liked every Grand Theft Auto game and generally pretty much every Rockstar game, this was, it was an excellent game, for me at least. I don't know, there was so much variety to the missions, and the heist missions in particular I thought were really well designed. The combat was a nice step up over Grand Theft Auto 4. I liked the storyline, I liked the characters. I know a lot of people didn't. I don't know, I kind of liked it. I love the scope of the game. The scope of the game is probably the most impressive thing. Los Santos is just this insane city packed with so much detail, and it's so fun to just run around in. And even though I didn't mess too much with the side activities, the main storyline was just a whole lot of fun. And as overall package, it worked. It's such a well-designed game with hardly any flaws. I really enjoyed it overall. Now, it is only number 10 on my list, so I didn't like it as much as a lot of other people did, but I certainly was impressed by it enough to make number 10 on my list. At number 9 is Pokemon X and Y. Like with the Grand Theft Auto series, I'm a pretty big fan of the Pokemon series. I'd only really played like every other game in the series. I'm not so obsessed with it to play every single game that comes out, but I was really excited for this one, and it did not disappoint. Streamlined everywhere where it needs to be. The menus, admittedly, maybe could still use a bit of work. There's a lot of processes to do what you need to do, but the experience share item, I thought, cut out a lot of tedium out of the core Pokemon experience. I loved all the types of mini games they added. It's a beefy game, tons of content. I'm still playing this game, trying to get all the Pokemon. It's just overall a very enjoyable game. The 3D visuals are beautiful to look at. It's that perfect handheld game that keeps you wanting to come back for more. And it's the same kind of formula. And I know a lot of people that didn't like Pokemon previously. They weren't really changed by this one. So it's gonna appeal more to people that love the series. But it's nice that they've actually made some major improvements. To cut out the tedium, and overall it was just a really enjoyable experience. I've always kind of enjoyed Pokemon. I think this is probably the best one since Red and Blue, to be honest. So yeah, definitely a very enjoyable game. I really, really liked Pokemon X and Y. At number 8 is Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Now, this is one of the games that it took me a while to finally play this. I just played it, I think, a week ago now. And Steven, the Leggy Gamer, recommended this. And every time I looked at this game, I thought that the gameplay looked very unappealing. It's one of those games that if you watch videos of it, it just doesn't look that fun. But actually playing it is a whole different story. And I think this is one of those games that's going to be talked about for years to come. It's got a really unique control scheme where you control each brother with the left and right analog sticks and the left and right triggers. Now, this kind of control scheme I think was done in like a game called The Adventures of Cookie and Cream for the PS2, I believe. But here, the controls kind of take on a life of their own, and they kind of tie in with the storyline in a really gripping way. And this game is super emotional. It's a beautiful game to look at. The soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal. It's a very short game. It only will take you maybe to 2-3 hours to beat. I finished it in one sitting, and I was hooked from start to finish. Like, the game, you basically kind of complete puzzles. Very kind of simple puzzles, but they're very clever and fun at the same time. Nothing is going to try your patience here. It's a very breezy game that you'll finish in a few hours, but you'll be impressed from the beginning all the way up until the end. And towards the end, there's a certain moment in this game that blew my mind. It was honestly one of the greatest moments in gaming, I think, is in this game. Really, just a wonderful downloadable game that I think, some people missed out on. And Steven, thanks so much for recommending that game. You finally got me to give the game a chance, and I'm so glad I did, because it's definitely one of the more memorable gaming experiences I had this year. At number 7 is Saints Row 4, another game I played very recently, and I'm glad I did. The Saints Row series is a series that's always been dear to my heart. The first game I actually really liked when it came out. Yes, it was a GTA clone, but it was a really good one. It probably hasn't held up too well. But the second one was also quite good. They added quite a bit more humor into it. The third one took it to a whole other level. That game was super over the top and super crazy, and I love that game. Saints Row 4, this is where the series kind of comes full circle. The complete opposite of Grand Theft Auto. This game is ridiculous, but in the best way possible. The humor, it can be a bit hit or miss, but when it hits, and the majority of the time it does hit, this game is flat out hilarious. I laughed constantly. A great cast of characters. It never takes itself too seriously. And the superpowers they added to Saints Row 4 are so much fun to use. It's just so fun roaming around this city using these superpowers and upgrading them. The combat is really fun. The missions are fun. Tons of variety. Just going through the main storyline is fun, but all the side quests and just messing around in the city is fun as well. You can really lose yourself in this game. The setting is like kind of recycled from Saints Row 3, which, and there's a bit of a feeling that like this game was rushed, and that's why it's a bit lower on my list, despite honestly being probably one of the most fun games this year. It's one of those, it kind of reminds me of Crackdown in a way. It's what Crackdown 2 should have been, I feel. Where, you've got these clusters that you got to find around the city, like kind of like the orbs in Crackdown, and they kind of add to your, they allow you to purchase upgrades for your powers. So it's really addictive roaming around the city collecting these clusters. But yeah, Saints Row 4, just an utter surprise, and honestly, my favorite game in the series by far. The only thing now, though, I don't know how they can top the craziness of this game with Saints Row 5. I don't know, where do they go from here? I mean, this game is insane, the stuff you do in this game. But yeah, Saints Row 4, just a total blast, and definitely one of the most enjoyable games this year. At number 6 is Rayman Legends, another game I played very recently. In fact, I'm still playing through this one, and it's good enough to make the list at number 6. Why it took me so long to play this game, I have no idea. I knew I would enjoy it. Rayman Origins is one of my favorite games of last generation. It wasn't on my list that I did, and I really regret that. I don't know, I completely forgot about that game when I made the list. It really should have been on there. Honestly, probably even in the top 10. Rayman Legends might be better than Origins. The level design in this game, I mean, honestly, it's a miracle, like how amazing the level design in this game is. It's almost there's almost no words for like how great the level design in this game is. It's such a joyous game. It's so charming. The visuals, like one of the most gorgeous games out there. I played the PC version with the 360 controller, so I didn't play the Wii U version, which I've heard like the controls on that game are really neat. But even on like the console versions, that like the non-Wii U versions, I had so much fun with this game. I'm having so much fun with it. I like the progression system in this compared to Origins, where you got to collect a certain amount of lums to unlock later stages. There's so many unlockables in this game. It's insane. The amount of content here is absolutely crazy. The music levels. I got to talk about the music levels. If you play these music levels and you don't enjoy them, you don't have a soul. They are the most charming and hilarious. Like, I was sitting playing these music levels with a smile on my face the entire time. Like, they're just amazing. Co-op is probably a really fun thing in this game, and I never, I just played by myself, and it's a fun game. It's challenging. This game actually gets quite hard in spots. The time trials are pretty brutal. It's just a quality game, and it's so fun to play. The only thing that's keeping it like number 6 are the boss battles. Boss battles, I think, are honestly kind of terrible. They're very trial and error design. Like, if you don't know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, you're gonna die over and over and over again. They're just, I don't know, they're very annoying in that kind of way. They're the only thing so far that dragged the game down a bit for me, but in every other case, it's an improvement over Rayman Origins, and I didn't even know that was possible because that was such an amazing platformer. But here we are. Rayman Legends, just a fantastic game, and it's a shame that it didn't sell too well. Of course, I wasn't helping. The fact that I bought it so late at a pretty reduced price. I got it for $20. Honestly, I wish I paid full price for this game because it's totally worth it. I mean, this game is just brilliant. At number 5 is Tales of Xillia. What can I say about Tales of Xillia? Just a very solid, well put together Tales game. I liked it far better than Tales of Grace's F. I think there's differing opinions on that, but Xillia's battle system I just really got engrossed into. The storyline, I love the storyline in this game. The 2 dual characters I thought was an interesting idea. I don't know if I want to see it return, but I still actually have to play through Jude's playthrough. I played through Mila's playthrough. The cast of characters, probably one of the strongest in a Tales game, I think. Mila is a really strong female protagonist. All the other characters are great. Alvin is an excellent character. A very mysterious character that you kind of questioning like what his motives are. A really great arc on him. It's just a really enjoyable JRPG through and through. I do still have my qualms about the world map. Not really the world map, but the maps themselves. They're kind of like big and open, but empty, and the enemies kind of just feel thrown about. And it's a kind of weird that way. But I really like the dungeons, the less puzzle-oriented dungeons compared to Grace's F, which they were just too much for me in that game. There's really not much to say about Xillia. I mean, I covered everything in my review. It still holds up. It's still a really fantastic game in my favorite JRPG series. Definitely one of my favorite JRPGs this year. At number 4 is Ni no Kuni. What a magical game this was. Now, the interesting thing with this game is I'm seeing a bit of a mixed reaction to it. And I think it did get a mixed reaction upon release, but I'm hearing more negative things now when people are starting to look back on it. I don't know. I really loved Ni no Kuni. Definitely enough to rank quite high on my list. It just brought back that old school JRPG feel. The world map. They brought back the world map, which has been missing from so many games, and it's a beautiful world map with so many different places to explore. Visually, this game is probably, I think it's probably the best looking game this year. Just a beautiful art style. This Studio Ghibli influence is felt here for sure. And while there weren't as many cutscenes as I was hoping there'd be, what is there is really great. I like the story. I think the story is really, really quite cool. It's nothing crazy, but I definitely think it picks up towards the end. I like the cast of characters. I even like the battle system, which I know a lot of people weren't too big on, but I don't know. I thought there was a lot of different strategies you could use in the battle system, and it got pretty challenging towards the end. You really had to you had to manage a lot. You had to really pay attention to what was going on and do a lot of multitasking. And I don't know. It always kept me on my toes up until the end. I really enjoyed it. Even the monster collecting, the Pokemon aspects, I really enjoyed. And just the general whimsy that this game has, it's just, I was really charmed by it from start to finish, and there's a shit ton of content here too. It's a pretty massive game. It doesn't take that long to beat, 40 hours or so, but the amount of side quests here, there's quite a lot of them. It's just one of the most enjoyable games I've played this year. It's a JRPG that, it feels old school in a lot of ways, but it's also very modern at the same time. I don't know, I really liked it. Definitely one of my favorite games of 2013. At number 3 is Gone Home, an amazing downloadable title, and I said in my review that this is probably going to rank high on my Game of the Year list, and it did. It stuck with me. And recording the footage for this game, I got sucked back into it. Just the atmosphere of this game, the setting, the '90s setting, and just the amount of detail they put into this game, like all the different things you can interact with in this house. The storyline that you piece together yourself, which I loved. The storyline and how it surprised you, how it went into unexpected territories, how it kind of the game plays with your expectations a lot and kind of fools you at certain points, and maybe it doesn't fool you at certain points. It's one of those games that there's not really much gameplay to it. I mean, you're just walking around this house and kind of putting together the story for yourself and this family. You're kind of getting to know these characters by looking at small details and in notes, and looking at their belongings to kind of get a feel for what this family is like and what these characters are like. And they're really excellent characters, without the game beating you over the head with like long cutscenes and in excessive amounts of dialogue. It's one of those games where I was just hooked from start to finish in that one playthrough. I was so immersed in the setting and what the game was trying to do. It's really a unique game too. There's really nothing quite like this. I really want to see more games like this. Pushing games like this that kind of push the industry forward in interesting ways when it comes to video game narrative, without tacking on like unnecessary boring gameplay. It's a very short game. Even at the $20 price tag might seem a bit steep, but it's been discounted so often at this point. But even at the $20 I paid, I didn't feel ripped off in the slightest, because it really stuck with me. A lot of the moments of this game, the storyline itself it resonated with me. It wasn't really a relatable storyline, but it could be for a lot of people. But it was a great storyline. I really liked it. But certain aspects, whether it be like some of the notes you find, it really actually kind of did relate with me growing up. So it resonated with me in that way. It just got a strong emotional reaction out of me by the time I was finished with it. And it's just a wonderful game. I really, really love Gone Home. And at number 2, The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. Now this game. Now, if I was to make a game, like a top best list of 2013, the games I felt were the best of 2013, objectively, this would probably be the game I would consider the best. In quality-wise, the story is actually quite good for a Zelda game. I've actually never been too into the Zelda storylines. There's been some good ones, Majora's Mask in particular, but I actually found myself really invested in the storyline, and it actually really got quite good towards the end. The gameplay, top-notch. That Zelda formula is back, but they changed things up in very interesting ways, of course. The item rental system, I think, is an excellent addition. It really changes up how you play the game and the order you do the dungeons. I thought that was really awesome. How the game completely removes hand-holding. It leaves you to your own devices. You can explore this world at your own leisure. You're not, bogged down by tutorials and constant dialogue. The game's very fast and fluid. It controls perfectly. The dungeons are clever, full of just excellent design. The world, that Link to the Past, Hyrule, is excellent. Lorule I thought was very interesting too and fun to explore. Tons of different things to collect in this game. I'm still actually playing it to try to get 100%. I'm actually trying to do that, which a lot of Zelda games I don't do that with. It's like, and I thought this game might be like a lot of recycled content from Link to the Past, but it's really not. It's, everything's kind of new and everything feels fresh. It's such an expertly designed game from top to bottom. Like, there's not a wasted minute of this game. It's enjoyable, like, consistently. It's just, everything just hits. Even the visuals, which at first kind of, I thought they were kind of ugly looking watching videos, but once you actually start playing the game, they're fantastic. The visuals are fantastic. The soundtrack, the remixed classic Zelda tunes in this game are, they're just phenomenal. It's just, again, like, everything this game has to offer is perfect. Like, it's one of those games, honestly, I can't think of a single complaint. Even my number one game, there's some things I can, complain about, but with The Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds, I'm sorry, I like every single part of it. It's, and as a Zelda fan, it's nice to actually get a Zelda game that doesn't treat you like an idiot. And it's going to be very exciting to see where they go from here if they've learned from this game, which I think they have, because this is getting an extremely positive reception. A lot of people are liking these changes. So it's very exciting. It's going to be exciting to see what this Wii U one's going to look like. Are they going to get rid of the constant tutorials and hand-holding and, hell, maybe even make it quite challenging? Which, I mean, maybe the one thing I could point to with A Link Between Worlds is it's not an overly challenging game. But it's just such a joy to play, and it's definitely one of the best Zelda games, and definitely one of the best games this year. And finally, here we are at number 1, Shin Megami Tensei 4. This game. Out of all the games I've played this year, no other game had the immersion factor that SMT4 had. Anytime I would pick up and play this game, I would find myself 6 hours later still playing it. I think I never went below a 5-hour session of SMT4. I was addicted to this game right up until I got that law ending, and I'm craving to go back to it to get the chaotic ending and the neutral ending. What is there to say about SMT4? I have my complaints with it. Honestly, it's my favorite game of 2013, but I still have some complaints. The storyline, I actually wasn't too crazy about. It's fine. I think it has more to do with the characters themselves. I found them kind of bland, and I found them just not to have much development, really. They're, again, not terrible characters and not a terrible storyline by any means, but it's the gameplay in this game that blew me away. For one, the battle system, the press turn-based battle system in this game. Honestly, probably my favorite battle system, like my turn-based battle system ever. Extremely challenging, tons of depth to it, very exciting, very fast. Each battle is different from the last, exploiting enemies' weaknesses, and being able to get all these turns in a row is just so satisfying. Taking down the bosses, which definitely pose a threat, is just so rewarding. It's a very rewarding game because it's one of those games that's challenging but fair and never frustrating, which I always love. Anytime I'd get to a point where I feel like where I did something wrong or I was going to die, reset the game, go to the main DS menu and restart. And I restarted the game like 250 times, I think, on my activity log, it said. And it was never frustrating. I always wanted to jump right back in when I got to a tricky boss. The final boss, in particular, on the law path was hard as shit. I played on the normal mode because, I don't know, normally I would just go down to easy mode in a lot of games because I found myself getting frustrated. The normal mode on SMT4, I was just, I was like, fuck it, this game is so fun. Yeah, it's challenging, but I'm really loving it. I'm loving the challenge. I'm craving it. I'm not really someone that loves to be, challenged in games too much. Because I found a lot of games do challenge poorly. A lot of games aren't challenging. They're just annoying or tedious. And SMT4 isn't. It's fantastic. The Demon Fusion system is amazing. It's insanely addictive. There's so much you can do there. The amount of options you have available to you in this game, it's endless. The dungeon crawling is really fantastic. I really enjoyed the dungeon crawling. The world that they've created here, the atmosphere is really dark and foreboding. I really love it. The music, one of the best soundtracks of the year, I think. A very underrated soundtrack. Definitely a very moody soundtrack that fits that atmosphere that this game has, that dark atmosphere. I really loved that. It's just a really addictive game. Another complaint maybe is like the world map. It's a bit weird. It's kind of hard to navigate. It's very maze-like, and it's hard to kind of get a good grasp on where you are in relation to other places on the map and where you need to be going at any given time. The side quests are all really fun and very rewarding. I love how your character, depending on the equipment you have, it changes the look of your character. I mean, it's a very minor thing, but it all adds up, and it's the most fun I had with a game all year. It's the most engrossed I've been with a game this year. When a game, to describe it, when I was playing this game, honestly, it felt as if there was nothing going on around me. Like, I was so absorbed and sucked into this game that all I could think about was the game and what I was doing in it. It's one of those games where I had dreams about it. I think it's the only game this year I played that I was dreaming about this game. Like what I would do in the next game and how I would do things. Or it's I don't know. It was almost an obsession, this game. And like the Shin Megami Tensei series, I haven't played too many games in this series. Persona 3 and 4 are the only other games. Those games are like amazing as well. I mean, this is slowly, if the rest of the games in the series are as great as this, it just might overtake the Tales series as my favorite RPG series. And I hear Nocturne, Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, is even better than this game, which blows my mind, because this game is just so good. I don't know, I don't know, I really took to this game. It really, it's why I love games, is this game right here, Shin Megami Tensei 4. I can't wait to jump back in, although I think I'm going to play Nocturne first. But yeah, Shin Megami Tensei 4, it hands down my favorite game of the year, and I think it pretty much was ever since I first played it. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, so that's my list, and I think probably the biggest shocker that a lot of people probably weren't expecting, two of the biggest heavy hitters of the year didn't even make my top 10. The Last of Us and BioShock Infinite. Now, I had about 15 games when I started making this list, where there's 15 games I really enjoyed this year. And when I looked at all these games and I compared them, BioShock and Last of Us were just kind of on the bottom there. They were like 11 and 12. Honestly, if I did like a top 12, 11 and 12 would have been those games. But I don't know. To me, it's, like I said in the reviews of both those games, I think, it's the storylines, the narrative of both of those games, and the world they've crafted in both those games, amazing, terrific. It's the gameplay for both of those games that it honestly kind of let me down. And when I looked at that as like a complete package for both those games, and the fact that honestly, actively playing those games was just nowhere near as enjoyable as like the 10 games I put on the list. So I felt it just wouldn't be right to put them on the list. Even though I did enjoy both of them, they're both great games. I don't know, there was just 10 games I enjoyed more this year than those two. And I think with that, when I look at my list, there are 2 games on this list where you actually shoot things. And I wanted to talk about that because in 2013, I found my gaming taste changing a bit in that aspect. Shooting things in video games is honestly, it's getting tiring for me. And it slowly was reaching that point, but I think this year is finally where I've reached the point where honestly, shooting things, I don't know if I can take it anymore. For example, Tomb Raider I played recently, and I was enjoying it at first, but it started to get monotonous for me, like just the amount of shooting in that game and killing people. I don't know, it gets kind of old for me, and it was the same with BioShock and Last of Us, where eventually it got to a point where I was just not having fun with those games because of the insane amount of killing that's going on in those games. So I don't know, this year it's a lot of, RPGs and games that, you're doing different things than just killing people. So overall, 2013, I thought it was a really good year. A lot of great games this year, really a ton of quality games. But other than like SMT4 and Zelda and Gone Home, my top 3, nothing really blew me away this year. It's a lot of great, good games. Nothing, I don't know, I felt, at least in my opinion, nothing really made me go, oh wow, this is new and exciting. I don't know, it's, just overall a really fantastic year. It's just, nothing really completely blew my mind. Now, games I missed out on, obviously with, every time I do a list like that, there's always going to be games I miss out on. Unfortunately, it's the same with this year. I don't have a Wii U or a Vita, so I missed out on those entire libraries. On the Vita, we had Ys Memories of Celceta and Tearaway. Tearaway looks fantastic. There's a good chance that would have made my Game of the Year list. On the Wii U front, we have The Wonderful 101 and Super Mario 3D World. Super Mario 3D World, I'll just get this out right now. it probably would have been my game of the year. That game looks amazing. It looks so fun. It looks like just the kind of game I would have loved to play in the middle of all the other games I had going. So yeah, I get a Wii U or Vita next in 2014? The Wii U, maybe. The Vita, though, honestly, at Danganronpa, I want that game so badly. I gotta play that game. I think I'm gonna buy a Vita just for that game. Other than that, Metal Gear Rising, I would have liked to play. I just didn't have the time to play that. Devil May Cry, I was kind of iffy on. Like, I would have liked to play it if it was like dirt cheap. Like, I'm talking $5, but I just didn't get around to that. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon on the 3DS. Again, one of those games that I really would have liked to play, and I don't know, I just didn't pick it up for whatever reason. Animal Crossing probably was a great game, but after playing the GameCube game for like months on end, I don't know if I can play another Animal Crossing game again. A notable omission from my list, probably you've been thinking, is Fire Emblem Awakening. That game's a weird one. I just couldn't get into it. I don't know, it's weird. Like, everyone loves that game, and I can definitely see why, but to me, the Fire Emblem game, it's the Fire Emblem series is a series like I've tried so hard to get into, and I just never can. And even Awakening, which is by far the most accessible game, I played it on the non-permadeath mode, and I eventually got to a point where I was just kind of getting bored with it. And then with permadeath on, I find myself not wanting to replay the missions when I use a unit. So I get to a point where I get stuck because I don't have enough units to continue the game. And I find it's too tedious for me to like replay a mission every time I lose a unit, because that always happens to me because I'm terrible at Fire Emblem. So I don't know, it was this weird thing where I couldn't enjoy the game no matter what mode I put it on. I don't know, it's weird. I don't know, something's wrong with me. I don't know why I couldn't enjoy that game. Etrian Odyssey 4 was a game I was really loving. And eventually the map making started to wear on me, and I don't know, I put it down after like halfway through it, unfortunately. But yeah, I think that's about it for the games I missed out on in 2013. I don't think there's too much more. But yeah, that's it, guys. Again, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.